A new report from the Inspector General says after 17 years of war against Islamic extremist terrorists and insurgents in Afghanistan, there have been 2,400 U.S. military deaths, tens of thousands of Afghan deaths, and we're approaching $900 billion spent on military and reconstruction. War correspondent Carmen Gentile writes about the conflict in his new book, Blindsided by the Taliban. While reporting in Afghanistan, he was hit in the face by a rocket-propelled grenade. In the video you're about to see, he's behind the camera interviewing Afghans when the RPG hits.
Hey, are you okay?
No.
Wait a minute. RPG.
I was injured by a rocket-propelled grenade that hit me in the side of the head. Fortunately for me, did not detonate.
In simple terms, for people who know we have troops in Afghanistan but really don't know why we're there and what they're doing, how would you describe that?
We went there because of Al-Qaeda and September 11 and the effort to root them out and to remove them from their comfy home that was given to them by the Taliban. Why we're still there 17 years later, if you ask me why I think we're there, I'm not quite sure.
What did you learn in the big picture from your time there?
The big picture that I learned there is that the more time I spend in Afghanistan, the less I know about Afghanistan. It is a very complex country in terms of their tribal dynamics, their history, the politics. There is several generations that have grown up in knowing nothing more than violence and fighting. If all the violence were to end today, there would still have to be several decades of healing before the country could maybe return to that time before the Soviet invasion.
How would you describe what you see as the U.S. strategy there, and what would you say, if anything, is wrong with it?
I think that there has been some mission drift over the years. And now we've gone from a period of initial invasion, then there was the shift toward Iraq, and Afghanistan was seemingly forgotten for a number of years until the Obama surge in '09. And during that period, it seemed as though there was a concerted effort to try to regain control of parts of the country that the Taliban had a firm grip on. Now, that control has returned to the Taliban, and in some places the Islamic State, now that the U.S. has drawn down and the Afghan forces are in the lead. What they're trying to achieve with this recent escalation as ordered by the Trump administration, I have no idea. I don't think anyone really knows what the final objective is, because if we haven't figured it out in 17 years, then there's definitely a problem.
How do the Russians figure into this? I think you noted that the Russians are arming the Taliban government officials.
Well, the Supreme Commander of NATO forces in Afghanistan said in a recent interview that there was evidence that Russia was arming the Taliban. I can imagine that they are laughing their heads off in Moscow about that, frankly, considering the history with the United States and Russia in Afghanistan in the 80s.
You said the longer you were there, the more you understood that you didn't know. Mm-hmm. Well, what things did you learn there that might be of interest to people outside Afghanistan?
The Afghan people that I met in rural Afghanistan are the strongest, hard-willed, determined people I've ever come across. They live in remote mountain regions, and they now do it under the constant oppression and fear of danger and violence from the Taliban and the Islamic State or other extremist groups. It takes a special kind of person to be able to endure and to even want to wake up every single day and continue to go about your daily life, have children, and survive. So that's one of the things I've learned, is that if you want to be inspired by someone who endures, look at the Afghan people.
After he recovered from being shot in the eye, which took lengthy rehab and multiple surgeries, he continued reporting in Afghanistan.